Hello and welcome to episode 94 of Coffee with Mirko. Absolute pleasure having you here, and thank you for being here. Hope you're well, hope you're safe, and wherever you are in the world, hope everything's going well. And I'm looking forward to catching another amazing coffee professional and bring you to new stories. But yeah, here she is. Here we go. Here we go. Good evening.
Can you?
Hang on. I can hear you. Maybe delay. Let's try again.
Okay.
Oh,
Let me.
I get you. I got you. Yeah.
You got me now? Okay.
Yeah. How are you?
For a week. Um, you had a week, so
I had a week for sure.
yeah.
At least your t-shirt matched my mug, so that we're good.
Oh, really?
So I mean, it's pink, I suppose.
Oh, yeah. So I can,
Um, Firstly, thank you so much for coming in. It's just super cool to have you, and I know you're super busy, so obviously very happy that you could make it. And how are you and your family and friends with this interesting year, shall we say?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm luckily my family is doing fine, and you know, I'm okay. It could be a lot worse. It's been a tough year for everyone, but with like, all things I'm doing over. Yeah. How about you?
Oh, I rarely get it back. Yeah, good. Just been. I think Australia is in a very lucky pocket of the world in the sense of, despite us being in isolation for all up about 7 months since March, we had a little break in June and then we went back in lockdown in July. It was much more stricter lockdown, but cases are lower. My family are back in Italy, but they're fine, and everything is good. I think the pandemic has put a lot of things in perspective, or at least on a personal level, on the privilege that some of us have and how lucky we are with what we thought was small and not enough. It's plenty, and yeah. So I started a podcast, and I'm doing good. Thank you for asking.
You just started this podcast during quarantine?
Yeah, in March, because I'm the type of person that I need my people. So I was like, I was going a little bit crazy, and yeah, I started just by chance, and I've listened to another podcast saying you should all jump on Instagram live streams, and I was like, all right, I'm doing it. And at the time, I was messaging with Andrew from Flair Espresso for something else, and I was like, do you want to hop on a live stream like tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then, yeah, all the way to episode 94, I suppose, with you.
That's amazing. That's so many episodes in such a time.
It's been a ride, that's for sure. But thank you for asking, and I'm glad that you're doing fine, obviously. And tell us more about you. What's been your journey, and how did you start in coffee?
Um, well, first of all, the last live that I did, the video quality was so bad and I feel nervous about it. So if there are any issues, just like let me know and I'll do my
I'll give
best.
you the signal.
Okay. Okay, this might sound weird, but yes, but I would love to hear about a little bit about you and about like your journey in coffee and your platform and what is important to you to pursue and to forward in this realm in the coffee industry.
This is very interesting. Okay. So, well, I started in coffee about 9 years ago. And like many of us, just sort of coffee found me rather than me seeking for coffee. I came to Australia, couldn't speak English, and hospitality was definitely, or the service industry was definitely something that was appealing, but also, just an entry for some income. And at the time, I wasn't drinking coffee at all. I hated it because it's just so bitter from back home, and I just grew up not drinking it. Well, I drank it as a toddler. When I was 3, I used to drink coffee in between at nighttime when I would switch back from my bed to my parents' bed. And then eventually, job after job, from floor to machine, I landed a job where there's one of my coffee mentors, Ken, and he's like, "Look, I don't care. You're gonna drink this filter," and it was Licello from 90 Plus. Funny how life goes. And I was like, wow, okay, that's not the coffee I remembered. And then from then, worked here and there. And my last job was with this coffee roaster called Toby's Estate. And then I quit last year to pursue my own things. And I started my own business. And yeah, that's the short version.
What's your
Um,
business?
oh, wow, this is turning. I like it. I guess it's good. I like it. I run a social media agency. So basically, it was sort of boring because when I was working on the road for coffee roaster, a lot of my wholesale customers would, tell me their businesses, and we were always trying to help them out. And I couldn't go past the fact that there were agencies out there doing their social media. They didn't have a hands-on experience, and it was like, oh, it's like if I started doing social media for a makeup company brand. Obviously, you can do social media for anything and anyone. I just thought, oh, okay, that's interesting, and then I sort of went towards that direction, and yeah, it's been a ride, that's for sure.
That's awesome.
Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing about it. Um, uh, yeah, I just, it's been I don't know, I'm just like pretty tired. I kind of am like, I don't want to talk about myself, but
That's okay.
that's what I came here to do it.
No, that's completely fine. And for you, it's been a long day. For me, it's just a start. So I'm meant to be more fresh for sure. And when you said about purpose, I think when it comes to coffee, um, at the beginning, I never really wondered that. I think that at the beginning it was just a mean of life to pay rent and bills. Um, when now I think I just had so much beautiful experiences when it comes to connecting with people. And for me, I love coffee, but I love people more than anything. Um, I find people very interesting. I find the fact that we can connect, in so many levels, literally through coffee, push me towards, a project that I'm working on, but also different concepts. And I no longer see coffee and money. I just see just a whole bunch of people connecting through coffee. So for instance, I just built a friendship with a few people from Germany through social media, and one of them decided to send me a whole bunch of coffee from Berlin in exchange. It wasn't an exchange originally, but then I was like, no, let me send you some coffee from Melbourne. And now he's drinking Melbourne coffee. I'm still waiting, but it's okay. And he hit me when we did it. I was like, well, it's actually partly a project that I'm working behind the scenes. What we just did, which is I'm giving you coffee that I think is delicious for you to enjoy with your loved ones because I can't be there, and makes me super happy. It's like a super virtual table, and yeah, so that's sort of probably the purpose around my coffee journey. Um, yeah, I hope that sort of answer. So I didn't answer the purpose question.
Yeah, question. It's like this coffee in the coffee industry, and I don't know if it's different from other industries, but I know in the coffee industry, it's like, what do you love about coffee? It's like there's an expectation that it should be something more than like it's the way that we make a living, you know? And so sometimes I kind of like for me the answer sometimes is like this is just my job. Like and um sometimes the answer is more expansive than that. I think for me, I absolutely started out in coffee just kind of like just trying it out and didn't have like a grand purpose or anything like that. And I don't feel like there was any reason why I should be expected to. I was like that. My dad was a Japanese tea ceremony master. So for me, specialty coffee felt like a way that I could perhaps follow in my father's footsteps, but in my own way. And I watched this DVD, taught myself how to pull espresso shots. I don't know if you've ever, if in Australia, I don't know if David Schomer is familiar in that region of the world, but I lived in Seattle where David Schomer was like the espresso, icon. And he had this training DVD that he produced. And I don't remember, my memory of it is that it was like shot in darkness and he was standing in the middle of a dark room wearing an apron it looked homemade, made it for him. And it had like a on it. And I watched it and I was like, all right, this is great. Like I can do this. And then I started, I don't know, working in a coffee shop and I then 14 years passed and now here I am.
Yeah. It's crazy once you step into, well, in this case in the coffee world, it's just time fly, and in between there is so many adventures and so many people and so many lessons on personal and professional levels. So it's especially in certain countries, it's quite easy to jump from a cafe to another cafe, but then all of a sudden you also meet someone who has a roastery, then whether he's competing or whether he's starting up in terms of wholesale or the technical side of things and becoming a technician or looking after machinery. And it's just, and then all of a sudden, sometimes you sit and you're like, oh, if I have to think about all the things that I've done since I started, I would never have expected this journey from day one. But I think it's actually quite beautiful what you said about your father and the tea ceremony. I think right there is a deeper personal meaning, because obviously tea might be more in terms of ceremony tea. It's more popular in different countries than the States or Australia, but then again, coffee is probably more popular in other countries than others. And yeah, I find it really, really interesting. I read it about it, but now that we're talking, it is special. I'm trying to think what I could do to sort of follow my parents' footsteps. But mom is a teacher, and I didn't go to uni, so that's already out of the picture. I guess my father grows vegetables, and I'm on a plant-based diet. There you go. I found mine. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And I think that coffee, because I understand that you had but it was a long week and it was a long day. So I kind of take the ball on board. I think that coffee it's just, it is a beverage. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of passion. It is connecting, and it is a whole bunch of things. But I think that through coffee, you can also spread messages. I think that you can talk to people. Sometimes it becomes an excuse to start a topic, whereas equality, sustainability, fairness, conditions of workers. There is so much, and then all of a sudden you are in a room where everybody is sipping a cup of coffee, and you can have those discussions and conversations, or people who are in the coffee industry who have certain topics at heart and is still able to share it. I don't think that there's other industries which are quite as ours when it comes to, you know, we are like the most people industry in my opinion, and also where we most, I mean, maybe tattoo artists and there's a few others as musicians, I get it, but I think, you know, we are really, yeah, it's a great industry, and especially in the last few years, I've seen a little bit of a switch where we are like, okay, well, if we are always talking about us being open-minded, us being, inclusive, we actually need to start doing it rather than just saying it. We gotta start walk the talk, and hopefully things will improve. I've seen, you know, the last few years more and more female representation. I've seen more and more certain groups and so-called minorities representation. I think it's fantastic. And yeah, what do you think?
Uh, yes. Question about my presentation?
Sorry?
Sorry, what was your question?
No, as in, do you think like that through coffee we're able to sort of talk about bigger things?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of my career is, I don't know. Maybe I can back up and share a little about what I, yeah. So I started working in coffee as a barista, and then I was a barista on and off for 7 years. I worked as a barista trainer and a manager and an espresso technician also during that time, kind of just going back and forth between different things. I worked for a roastery called Four Barrel Coffee in 2013 through 2016. That was, oh, no, and that was a pretty interesting experience for me. I had started working there in my like mid 20s, and I was very at that time confident and felt like I knew what I was doing as a barista and coffee person. And then I was working at this place, and everyone was, it just like broke my spirit. The environment and the culture there was so like abusive and demeaning, and just like awful, really, in so many ways. And I don't like regret really the things that have happened to me in my life, because I like who I am today, and I'm grateful for what I have today. And so I wouldn't like take anything back. But that really changed me a lot, the experience of working there. It changed my path in coffee a lot, the experience of working there. It revealed to me a lot of things that I knew about the world that I hadn't come into direct contact with in that way for such a sustained period of time, so intense. And so I became like, oh, this coffee industry that I've been inhabiting as sort of like just a person who likes coffee, doing their thing. This world is actually in many ways unbearably abusive,
Hmm.
unfair, and that recognition while I had at that point in the coffee industry culture, and when I had gotten to a point where that was all I knew how to do in my adult life. That was like my only skill set. I was like, I have to do my best to try to make this situation different. And so yeah, I left that job. I started work. I worked at an instant coffee company. I developed manufacturing technology at this specialty instant coffee company. I started sort of building up my visibility in the industry. And I got to a point where I felt like people are kind of listening to me a little bit. And then I sued Four Barrel Coffee. I co-organized a lawsuit against them for sexual assault, sexual harassment, because that was their big thing that they loved to do there was assault, harass their employees. They're big fans of that. So yeah, so with this a really amazing group of former employees of that company, we co-organized this lawsuit against them, and it was really very intense, awful, awful experience. But again, it's like I wouldn't take it back, you know. And it's established. It positioned way, I guess, in the minds of other people, but also in my own mind as someone who is um, like committed to just kind of doing what I felt was right and not what was. And that's the path that I've been trying to navigate since then, since I think like 2016. And coffee is what I do while I'm being a human, while I'm growing as a person, while I'm learning, while I'm making mistakes. And I see my career in coffee, it aligns these align with these different milestones in my own personal growth as a human, you know. And I can see in the Four Barrel lawsuit, like I can see how I felt in that moment, in that time. I felt so I felt so intense, like everything was just so heightened and so intense, and I just felt like I was surviving, you know. And um and I now look at what my life is like now, and I feel like I'm living more than I'm surviving most days. And I see my work in coffee is built more towards sustaining positive change, you know. um, and it's less wrapped up like urgency and like I am trying to move away kind of from the culture of like canceling and calling out and making sort of binary calls on like who is good and who is bad. And I'm just wanting to move more into a space of like, what do we do when things go wrong? What do we do to fix that without violence? And by violence, I don't necessarily mean like hitting people, you know. I mean, like, what do we do without the violence of making a person um, invisible to a community and shunning? And what do we do without like, oh, my mail came. Uh, like, how does accountability work when we're thinking about restorative justice and not just trying to reproduce cars, you know? Like, I think, you know, cancel culture is what the only system we have available to it. And I'm not saying like, oh, fuck cancel culture, like, oh, sorry,
No,
fudge.
no, no. I always so good.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that, or because I understand that it's the only system of accountability that exists currently. Um, but for me, like where I'm at is wanting to look at like what move to a place of like restoring the damage that's done to a person. What does that actually look like? What does that require? And I'm into like, you know, just trying to find work and opportunities for people who are marginalized in the world and have that marginalization like that is about it in the industry also, like just trying to find ways to and what I'm able to offer to people or able to give to people in a way that's sustainable, you know? So like doing things like I do some social media consulting, so like offering, you know, free consultations to people who hold marginalized identities. And it's not stuff that like I advertise a lot, you know, it's just I like to find many small sustainable ways along many channels that where I can sort of forward positive growth and healing and restoration.
Thank you for sharing. It was, yeah, I think that when it comes, especially on your last point, navigating through what you said, you know, that's where I think social media is such a demonized thing, but then it gives voices, you know, to people who are marginalized and who feel, you know, so, you know, even yourself doing what you're doing, it's just, it's great to be able to amplify a message. And I think what you just said in terms of the cancellation culture, yeah, I second pretty much everything you said. You know, it's just, I think that's probably what I was meaning by the fact that despite us being in coffee, coffee just become a part of it, but then it just tags along with our personal life experience, and then we're able to share our battles and share our principles and values. There's plenty of stories out there, like, and it's beautiful, I think, because then all of a sudden we can reach John and Jen, because you know they're thinking that we're giving them, well, in this case, you're giving them coffee, but then all of a sudden you're reaching John and Jen by talking about you know, things that you care about. And I think it's just, yeah, it's beautiful. And that's what it matters, because ultimately, you know, perfection doesn't exist, but I suppose that most of us really just try to be our best every day, and and try to improve, you know, who we are, and you know, like you said, there's no regrets. It's just a matter of we are who we are based on what we have been and how we have lived. And yeah, and you know, was part of what you said as well, you know, like what's the story behind the rainbow cup and spoon?
Oh yeah, yeah. I have I've had a lot of traumatic cupping experiences, and this is especially was when I was working at Four Barrel. It was like this, where it felt like completely strange, situation where there's all this emphasis placed on like flavor, like and like, do you taste blueberry? You don't? Then fuck. It's just a very like, you know, like there are all these sort of like ways where it was put forth in that clear of terms. It was more like these micro implicit, like implied kind of ways of making someone feel like they're not getting it. They don't understand what everyone else understands. Like, I didn't taste fucking blueberry. Like, you know, and we would go to these cuppings and have someone who is this kind of like the white man leading the cupping and go around and ask people like what they tasted, and you know they would share what they tasted. And then someone would say one like raspberry, and they'd be like, exactly, you know. And it was like, fuck, I want to get it right. Like I want to be the one who says raspberry, but I never was the one who said raspberry, you know. Um, and uh, and that, in my experiences outside of Four Barrel, also, it just was a lot of feeling like I don't get. And what I've learned over time is pretending. You know, like everyone is mostly just going along with whenever there's kind of like the alpha figure in the room, whatever they say, everyone's like, oh yeah, I taste that too, you know.
I've done it.
Yeah, yeah. I was just like, yeah, yep, taste that. Real, oh yeah, so much raspberry. It's like the raspberry in there. You know, but after a while, I realized that like everyone is a lot of the time just pretending, and everyone a lot of the time is feeling really terrified and uncomfortable in those situations. Because in coffee, we lack a standardized way to describe coffees. Like we lack a standardized framework. We're offered something like that kind of with the SEA cupping form, but it's like not exactly. So everyone has their own way of doing things, and they're approaching this cupping table with their own life experience where they've tasted different foods and they are familiar with different things, and they have like whatever bias they hold about a specific origin. You know, there's just a lot that individuals bring to the cupping table that's all really different and all really valuable. And so I find that there's so much more value in people honestly discussing their experience of a coffee rather than just feeling like they have to say, yeah, I taste raspberry too, you know? This particularly is really hard for people who hold identities that are not really represented as like the alpha figure in the room ever, you know? Like there's whoever it is, if it's like the owner or the head roaster or the green buyer, a lot of the time that's like a straight white man, you know? And so when you are not a straight white man and you only ever see straight white men being like the alpha kind of taster figure, then you think like, that's not for me. That's not what I can ever be. Like I can never be this confident and knowledgeable coffee person. And you want to sort of like, for me, I just felt like I wanted to shrink myself, and I just felt like I had to go in and try to pretend and try to act like someone else. So yeah, anyway, and I came to realize that, you know, it wasn't just like me who's the only one who was feeling like this. I just wanted to make it different, you know? And so that was the idea behind the rainbow cupping spoon, because it was like, you know, I'm a queer person and I just want to show up self and be my rainbow self, and like have a tool I like that doesn't necessarily match this standard of what someone else would imagine as professional or is an indicator of being a very serious coffee taster. Like I create my own metric for success, and my own metric is like, am I being myself? Like, am I being honest? Am I showing up in a kind way with a collaborative spirit? Then like, yes, that's what is important to me, and that's what my rainbow spoon reminds me of. And it turned out to be something that resonated with a lot of other people who similarly just felt very alienated in cuppings. And so yeah, so then I found I just found a lot of resonance in a lot of people, and I've turned it into a business. Yeah.
I love it. And to be honest, I mean, cuppings are terrifying from the slurp, you know, because you're like, you hear all these amazing sounds that they sound like out of a cell phone. Like, you know, what is this, ringing something? It's like, and then you are trying like, okay, I can do that. Like, forget the blueberries, like stuff from the slurp. It's quite intimidating. And, yeah, I think there is that side of the coffee industry. You know, I've witnessed it, and you know, sticking with cupping, I think my take on the cuppings, I was like, you know, well, you know, I don't buy green, I drink it. I love it with my loved ones and friends. So, you know, and to be honest, I was in the wine industry. My first job was in one industry, and I was super young. I was 19, and I was doing a lot of, drinking a lot of wine and tasting. And yeah, back then I was just like, oh yeah, I can taste this, I can taste that. But then very soon I realized my metric is just going to be simple. I dislike it, or I don't like it. It's okay, or I like it, or I really fucking like it. That's my metrics. And I think that sometimes maybe with these complicated tasting notes, I get there is a marketing aspect, but also sometimes it feels, I'm not saying maybe desperate is the wrong word, but like, hey, with the coffee industry we're here, let's just make a lot of noise. Let's say that tastes like Jaffa cake with hint of cinnamon and nutmeg and grated truffles. But then it's like, how many are going to actually connect and resonate with that and connect? Because it can become a little bit, I mean, I'm sure that most people who listen to this, even in the podcast form, or I'm not sure about you, so I can't say I'm sure, but I've had plenty of people asking me, oh, do you put blueberries in the coffee, or do you put blueberry syrup, or oh, do they use blueberries when they process coffee? And sometimes the questions are like, they actually make so much sense that you stop for a minute and you think about it, and you're like, oh, it's true. Do they actually put blueberries in the coffee? You know, it's not the answer, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense they're questioning because it's how it's been presented to them. Because if you say, hey, this is blueberry, it's like, oh, okay, but why? And I think it could be simplified. So maybe we could have a different tier system in terms of tasting notes for, you know, like maybe for certain super micro minority of super taster roasters who can really taste the, you know, even the variety of blueberry. Yes, you know, you can have a little bit more complexity, but then for, you know, the people just like, hey, like we taste this, but hey, do you like it or don't like it? You know, I think, because ultimately really it comes down to whether we like it or not. I love the story behind your rainbow cupping spoon. They look amazing, and you turn a value and a principle dear to you, and I suppose, like you said, a little bit of a traumatizing experience into something positive, enriching. Yeah, sure, it's a business, but also it's just, yeah, there's so much goodness in it. Like, that's the real blueberry right there.
Real blueberry.
Yeah, that's the real, yeah, the rainbow blueberry. That's right. And sorry, go.
We lack, I feel, in the industry a clear understanding of exactly like why we're using tasting notes as a standard for how we communicate about coffee. Like, there's the marketing aspect of it for sure, but you know, if we're like that, I think we need to talk about coffees differently with one another as coffee professionals than how we would talk about coffees with coffee consumers, because you know, like most coffee drinkers, they are not going to blueberry, even in the if it like it's a natural Ethiopia of any coffee professionals, like blueberry. Like a lot of coffee drinkers will not taste that, you know, because it takes a while to train your palate to recognize, like, okay, this is what it tastes like when a coffee tastes like blueberry, you know? So like, I think it's important for coffee professionals who are working together to be able to calibrate on the language that they use to discuss the coffees, because you know, we have to work together and make decisions about how the coffee is going to be roasted, like if we're going to buy the green coffee, all that kind of thing. So like tasting notes, I think, can be helpful or useful when it's meant to communicate information, and when there's, you know, a good calibration and collaborative conversation over sort of differences and perceptions on those tasting notes. But as far as like consumers talking to coffee drinkers, you know, I really feel like it is a lot more be descriptive of the coffee in a way that moves beyond just kind of the three disjointed tasting notes, because that's not how customers experience the coffee. And like you were saying, you know, it can be confusing. A lot of people are like, oh, that means there's literal blueberries in there. Like, how did you like roast the coffee, throw some blueberries into it? Like, what did you know?
That's right. That's exactly, I've had that question before.
reasonable question. And the fact that coffee professionals bring that up as like, oh, fuck, consumers are dumb. Like that's too bad, you know, because it really is, it's not a dumb question at all. It makes
Yeah, 100%. And I think blueberries actually work out quite well in this conversation for me on a personal level, because I come from the mountains, and I remember going pick up wild blueberries with my mom, like up, like you nearly touch the sky, and oh, they're bursting in certain type of flavor. And when I came here, you know, it's big city, it's Australia. Blueberry is almost tasteless. So for my experience on a blueberry was so much different than my friends and loved ones in Australia compared to my childhood and my teens back home. So blueberries, based on where you live, but even in Melbourne, if you go and buy the organic blueberries, they're going to taste very different than the super cheap out of season blueberries. So again, cultural palate is a word that I learned from Ann Cooper when we did a global coffee table. So where a lot of it was like about 20 people, and it was just all of us in a Google Meet just hanging out. It was really nice. Should do it again. Fuck, I'm so busy. I need people. And Anne was talking about she was roast training these people from Korea, and they were tasting a whole bunch of fruit, and they were tasting strawberries in that case. And the Koreans that she was training, they were like, these are not strawberries. So even that element itself, it's just there's such a difference of what we experience with certain flavors. So it's super subjective. Then, you know, let's not even talk about lifestyle. If I smoke 2 packs of cigarettes and drink a bottle of wine every day, and I eat only fried food, not judging, but I'm just going to be, you know, extreme. Well, my palate is going to be different than someone who eats, I don't know, raw diet. Yeah, it's interesting. I've been enjoying so much the conversation that I've actually forgot to look up at the time, and we're way past the halfway, and usually ask a ritual question. Usually ask it at halfway, but I'll ask it now. If you could, who would you like to have dinner with? And it can be anyone, coffee or non-coffee related, doesn't matter.
Who would I like to have dinner with?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I would want to have dinner with my dad, but I would want him to just be fully like alive again, and way more than dinner. So I feel like, yeah, I guess that I could answer it a different way. If we take it back a little bit, I would probably want to have dinner with, this is a pat response, but I mean it so sincerely, James Hoffman. Like, I think there's a really reason why so many people look up to him, and I think it's maybe not someone that I would be expected to name, but like, I just think he's so great. I think he's so kind. He has a way of talking about coffee with people who are wanting to learn that is so level-headed, and it's clear and detailed, and but never like snobby, you know, or condescending. And I, you know, he's someone platform and has this like crossover, you know, success. Like, he's known as this really iconic figure in the country, but then people outside of coffee also like follow him and know of him, and like he's sort of is a go-to figure for people who want to learn about coffee. And he does, I think, such a great job of managing his platform in a really beautiful and responsible and thoughtful way. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you. And I met him once, and for me, like James Hoffman is just, I don't know. This is gonna might sound. his voice, it's so soothing. Like, I don't know how to express it. It's just, he could have a meditation app, or like he could do ASMR, like he could do whatever with that voice. I think for me, that's what really, from his first video I've ever watched, I was like, wow, like the voice is just like perfect, you know, like, and yeah, for sure. Even the way he speaks, and he's such a, you know, yeah, he's super well spoken, and there's not too many people in the room because he didn't do a good job with advertisement this time. But let's say that we, I can't say it, but look, it wouldn't be impossible to say that maybe we'll have him here as well in a few episodes. Maybe, I'm just saying. So, but yeah. But yeah, yeah, that's a good answer, and yeah, it's not unexpected because, like you said, it's just to you, it's just more than just a coffee guy, which is super cool. Yeah.
Often since like forever, you know, since I first became aware that there were well-known people in the industry, you know, so yeah. And I've been really fortunate and really lucky to have met like a lot of my coffee kind of heroes and the people that I look up to in coffee. And like a lot of my friends are like people that I look up to so much in coffee. And so it's not to say like, I don't know, I just feel like I've been very lucky and fortunate. And I think to me, James Hoffman is still like, oh my God, James Hoffman.
I should clip that. I really should. I won't. But yeah. No, yeah, I feel the way. Same. And I'm sure we could talk about James for a while more, but we unfortunately I got 10 minutes left. So firstly, thank you again for coming. It's been a wild week for both of us, and you know, probably a big day for yourself. I just want to thank you, and maybe we could do this again. Maybe we can. I decided that at episode 100, I'm going to shut season 1 and have a little break because I need to actually work on my project a little bit harder because time is just the essence, as they say. And maybe in season 2, I would like to bring back, not everybody, but bringing back maybe with more, we could dive into a topic, or, you know, where you more like, you decide what we talk about and we just have a ball. But before closing off, I just have one big question. I want to talk about wasting coffee, the story behind it, and anything else that you want to say. We've got about 9.5 minutes, but yeah, wasting coffee is definitely something that was in my list. There's plenty of questions I didn't ask you, but it just, that's one I wanted. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, wasting coffee. So I have an Instagram platform called @wastingcoffee, which I haven't been as active on since Facebook. I've not been as active, but I'm trying to keep up. And I have and I wrote a book called The Wasting Coffee Guide to Not Wasting Coffee. And I think that you can is like not wasting coffee. But it covers I think it's yeah, okay. So my mom is use, reuse, recycle, and always has been for my whole life, and he's like super into organic like gardening and organic farming, and everything that she does is very like environmentally sustainable and oriented toward being environmentally sustainable. So I have never felt like that was something that I just have never really thought that would be me. But like we just turn into, and the next thing you know, I'm like writing a book about how I'm writing a book about not wasting coffee. And I'm like, guys, this is really wasteful. You should reduce, reuse, and recycle. Yeah, there's just like is when I was working as a barista trainer, there was so much waste that was involved in the process of like training baristas. We would just like pull shot after shot after shot and then just like throw it away. Like steam milk, pour lattes to practice latte art and just throw it all away. Like that was all I did all day. And I was completely like, it's just like, yeah, this is what we have to do because of quality, because the most important thing is to properly train these baristas so that they're going to pull the best quality shots and pour the best quality latte art. And I felt in my head, that was just what the framework that was handed down to me that I didn't question, it felt very binary to me. Either you waste coffee and waste milk and waste resources, or the baristas are shitty, and that it took an embarrassingly long period of time for me to unpack that. And I had the whole time my mom's voice in the back of my head that was like, this doesn't really make sense. Like maybe this isn't actually the best way to approach coffee, but they're always where the people who are wasting all this coffee are the people who like didn't have to grow it, like didn't have to pick it, didn't have to put in the labor to sort it, to process it, to dry it, to mill it, to pack it, to ship it. Like it's all done in far away from what the global north can see. It's like out of view, and we in the global north just get this product that has all this incredible labor put into it, and then we're like, nah, whatever, like waste it, throw it away because it's quality, and that's so gross. Like that's so gross, and like it's just and I just want us to really like think critically about what sustainable value stream, and part of having a sustainable value stream is like we have to recognize the value of the value stream. We have to recognize the value of that. We don't know, we just throwing things out, or pouring coffee through 8 different like coffee drippers onto the floor for like an Instagram photo, which is apparently the like what do, and it's really aesthetically beautiful to like throw coffee around and pour it out and capture, the movement of the liquid in midair, but it is wasteful. This message that it's kind of like a let them eat cake kind of message. It's like, yeah, there's all this work and love and care that goes into this product. We're selling you this marketing language that says it's so rare and hand picked and double sorted and all that. And then we're like, yeah, and we'll just throw it like in the air and throw it off a cliff so we can take a photo of it. Just early take a photo of it. And it's contradictory. So I just want us to like, I don't know, be more respectful and like be more practical and be more honoring of what it means to like be a functioning and like respectful part of a value stream that involves a lot of hard labor, by a lot of really hardworking and great people.
I wish I had more than 3 minutes. Yes, and thank you for doing that. I think when it comes to sustainability, I think it's become another blueberry often in coffee, in the sense of it's a word thrown out there, but then I see, and I try to detach myself emotionally because of my lifestyle, I'm a cliche in a way. I'm vegan, minimalist, towards waste-free. I bulk grocer, so like for me, everything that you say, just like it sounds like a Beethoven symphony music. And then I see some prominent people in the coffee industry, and again, this is not me going against, because I think I just came to terms with the fact that I didn't know a lot of things that happen in the dairy industry until only 3.5 years ago. So it's okay. Like I wouldn't go hard on me because I just didn't know. So that's okay. But then when you read, oh, sustainability, this, sustainability, that, but then, you know, you see other parts of the personal life shared with the same platform, whether it is, without going into details, otherwise it gives it away, who it is, who it isn't. But it's just used again, not for the right purpose. Because if we really care, it's not just about using keep cups. It really isn't. That's part of it, sure. But sustainability as a whole, it's a lifestyle that goes from what we eat, what we wear, what we do, how long is our shower. But the way that I bring back myself to zone, otherwise, you get caught up into a rabbit hole is perfection doesn't exist, and we all thrive towards our best, I suppose. Maybe my diet might be sustainable, but then my shower might be double length than your shower. Therefore, I'm wasting liters and liters of water because I like a warm shower. So it's not about I'm better than you, or better than her. It's about getting all together on board and understanding that let's listen to what everyone has to say and just work towards what's good for everyone and the world. But yeah, I mean, fuck. I mean, we could definitely maybe this is episode number 2, sustainability talk.
Okay.
Because Instagram is gonna chop it, give us 30-second notice. I have a love and hate relationship with Instagram, as you probably know. But you're a social media consultant, so you probably feel my pain. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing what you had to do, what you said, your story, your insights. I'm really grateful for your message, and I hope that one day we might be able to meet in person, grab a tea, a coffee, whatever, and just have amazing chat, and hopefully have a second round of this, and maybe on a less busy week for both of us. And thank you again so much. Really, really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I hope you have a really great day because you're just starting your day, and I hope it's beautiful.
I'm sure it will be, and I hope you have a good winding down and a good relaxing night time for you. And thank you again.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye. There you have it. I always hate the moment where he ends, but obviously every episode has a start and an end. I really want to say thank you to Ume, and it's just been an incredible episode talking about a lot of things. I apologize if I didn't really push. Usually I create the promotional tiles way earlier, but this week it's just been crazy, and this episode really deserved a lot of views and a lot of listens on Spotify or IGTV. Not because I care about numbers or clout. I don't give a shit about that. More because I think it's important, the things that she said, she shared. So thank you again, and thank you all for joining. I really appreciate you if you stuck around all the way until the end. It's an unusual time for us, going in the morning in Australia time, but obviously time zone difference. So anyway, again, if you're new, feel free to share this with a screenshot, and feel free to share this with a friend or whatever. And I really appreciate each and one of you, and I will see you soon. Adrian, my man, big shout out. I think this was a good chat for you, and talk about training and waste as well. Something that you and I talked about, and I should have you on the show real soon too, my friends. Anyway, until then, we'll see you next week. More episodes to come. 6 more until episode 100. Stay tuned, stay safe, stay well. Ciao.